Hey there, Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. Okay, so in today's video, we're going to be talking about the 5 things that you need to know about this full moon in Libra taking place on the 16th of April 2022. Now, I will be talking about 5 things, but I would also like to know what are some other things you think others should know about this full moon in Libra? I'm sure there are plenty more things to discuss, to share. Okay, so with all of that being said, I really do hope that you find this video to be helpful. Let's do this. Okay, so the first thing that you need to know about this full moon in Libra taking place on the 16th of April 2022 is that it will oppose the Sun in Aries at 26 degrees, creating the number 8 in numerological terms. And the number 8 represents things like business, building, organization, trial and error, hard work, strength, dedication, and personal power. It's a number associated with wealth, success, ambition, authority, and professionalism. And the interesting thing about both Aries and Libra is that they are cardinal signs, meaning they both initiate. They are both leaders. Aries gets things started by jumping into action. Aries has the bravery and the courage to take risks and to start new things. Aries leads with their head, often not thinking about the consequences of their actions. But Libra, on the other hand, Libra weighs things out intellectually before acting. And Libra also considers others beforehand. Libra often leads on behalf of others, but has this charming and graceful and indirect way of making others think they are leading themselves. Their leadership is much more subtle in comparison to the out in the open, blunt, direct, and straightforward Aries. And all of this is to say that this full moon in Libra is ushering in an opportunity for us to reflect upon how we lead when it comes to things like professionalism, when it comes to things like wealth, organization, building. For example, how do you initiate when it comes to your ambitions and personal power? How do you assert yourself when it comes to your business goals and business partnerships? Are you more passive or direct? Are you gentle or are you aggressive? Do you show consideration towards others or do you push others out of the way? How are you when it comes to teamwork and compromise? How are you when it comes to standing up for yourself and going after your personal wants, your personal desires? Can you be cooperative and negotiable to a fault? Or can you be independent and self-reliant to a fault? Perhaps these are some things to reflect upon during this full moon. These are some things to think about when it comes to the balance between these two opposing signs. But also keep in mind that full moons represent a time to release, shed old skin, and breathe out with the intention of embracing new beginnings. We tie up loose ends. Therefore, during this full moon in Libra, we are shining a light on this balancing act between us and others, between what we want versus what other people want. Perhaps there are some things you wish to release when it comes to your relationships, Or maybe there are things you would like to let go of when it comes to fairness, when it comes to cooperation. Then again, it could be that you shed old skin when it comes to comparison or relatability, or when it comes to your beauty, when it comes to your appearance. Or maybe it's that you tie up loose ends in association with weighing out the pros and cons. Therefore, during this full moon, step back, reflect, and go over a situation before making your mind up. Or maybe you are open to hearing both sides or all sides of a discussion or a situation before giving an opinion. Maybe you reflect upon the notion that some things in life aren't all good or all bad. Consider how you go back and forth between these two opposing sides or ideas or opinions. Contemplate upon what you need to feel balanced. And it's interesting because Libra sits between the signs Virgo and Scorpio. And Virgo and Scorpio can be quite black and white, okay? Virgo can label certain things as good or as bad. This thing over here is acceptable, and this thing over here, it's not acceptable. And then Scorpio can go to extremes. You made me mad, so I'm always going to be mad at you. I won't ever forget what you did. Now, don't get me wrong, value can be found in both approaches. So for example, eating raw eggs when pregnant isn't seen as a good thing because it's not safe for the baby. So we know to stay away from it. And extreme outlooks can be thought-provoking. They can cause us to question our motives and our behaviour. For example, watching a horrific scene in a movie can make us think about our morals. It can give rise to deeper feelings, deeper emotions. So yes, whilst value can be found in these approaches, at the same time, okay, these approaches can be detrimental. So for example, if you think you are totally bad and you're worthless as a person because you made one minor mistake, is that true? Is that really true? Or if you're called completely selfish for putting yourself first from time to time, is the person calling you selfish not also selfish? And even saying the term completely, saying someone is completely selfish, that's a very extreme term. That can be a very all or nothing approach. But I do hope you see what I did there. I did the Libra thing. I looked at how black and white thinking can be both beneficial and detrimental. I didn't say that black and white thinking is all good or all bad. Therefore, during this full moon, consider the grey. Consider how you go back and forth between two opposing sides or ideas or opinions. As I was saying, contemplate upon what you need in order to feel balanced. So let's say, for example, that this full moon is taking place in your 5th house. So looking at you Gemini, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps during this period, you consider how you feel balanced when it comes to your creative projects and hobbies. Perhaps there is something you haven't thought of yet, or maybe you weigh out the pros and the cons. Perhaps there are things that you feel are going really well, but there are other things that don't sit well with you. Perhaps you want to make a decision when it comes to your creativity, but you need more information first. Or maybe it's a good idea to consider your independence within groups. Then again, maybe you shine a light on this balancing act between your romantic relationships versus your platonic relationships. Or maybe you shed old skin when it comes to cooperation within your romantic relationships. Or let's say that this full moon is taking place in your 1st house. So looking at you Libra, sun, moon and risings, well, perhaps During this period, you consider how you feel balanced when it comes to your overall direction and general outlook. Maybe there are many life events happening, and so you weigh out the pros and the cons. You're trying to balance everything. You consider who or what is worth your time and your energy. Perhaps you realize that there's just there's only so much you can do. There's only so much you can give, and that others have to look after themselves. And so in this respect, perhaps it's a good idea to consider your individuality within your one-on-one relationships. Then again, maybe you shine a light on this balancing act between how you behave around others versus how others behave around you. Or quite possibly, you shed old skin when it comes to your beauty, when it comes to your physical appearance. Or let's say this full moon is taking place in your 9th house, so looking at you Aquarius sun, moon and risings. Perhaps during this period you consider how you feel balanced when it comes to exploration and furthering your education, furthering your knowledge. Maybe you would like to gain more knowledge, or you would like to broaden your perspective, and so you look towards others for guidance, to be mentors to you. But perhaps it's also about weighing out the pros and cons. So who would you like to learn from, and whose truth doesn't actually resonate with you? Whose teachings don't resonate with you and whose teachings do? Which messages are relatable and which ones have the opposite effect? Perhaps it's a good idea to consider what you want in terms of learning. Then again, having said that, just because a message isn't relatable doesn't mean it's about rejecting that message. Perhaps there's also value to be found in a message that doesn't actually sit all that well with you. Then again, maybe you shine a light on the balancing act between the belief systems of others versus what your personal opinions are. Or maybe you shed old skin when it comes to how you compare morals and ethics. I mean, I know for myself, I am an Aquarius, my sun is in Aquarius, and this whole balancing act between other people's belief systems versus what my personal opinions are, that's a big thing that's coming up for me right now in my life. The second thing that you need to know about this full moon in Libra is that Venus, the ruler of Libra, will make minor challenging aspects to both the sun in Aries and moon in Libra during it. Now, Venus will be in the sign of Pisces during this full moon, and so therefore we might feel slightly hazy, misguided, and kind of tired, a bit sleepy. Perhaps in this way, it really is a good idea to just slow down, slow down during the full moon. There's a lot of contemplation going on anyway. Not to mention, after this full moon, we will be coming into eclipse season, and eclipses, they can be intense, okay? So, rest is perhaps a good idea, if you can, that is. Yes, this is a number 8 full moon in a cardinal sign, and in this way, we may be releasing a lot so we can build upon something long-lasting, something significant. But just remember to go easy on yourself, okay? Try not to force anything. Try not to push too much. And also remember that Mars will still conjunct Saturn during this full moon, so easy does it. Progress takes time. The successes and the accomplishments that you want, they're not going to happen overnight. It could even be that you gain magical insights during this full moon if you listen very, very closely to your inner guide. And in this way, perhaps this is a moon where we dream, where we visualize, we make some time for our imagination. There's a spiritual element, a spiritual side here. But at the same time, perhaps some of us will want to push anyway. Or maybe it feels uncomfortable, this thought of sitting or remaining internally still. We might get frustrated or we might want to give others a piece of our minds. I mean, we're still in Aries season during this full moon. Or maybe we find it challenging to experience inner peace or self-compassion. We feel conflicted in our minds about what we want in comparison to what our friends or our partners or our colleagues want. We go back and forth between pleasing ourselves and pleasing others. And also keep in mind that both Jupiter and Neptune will be conjunct at 24 degrees in the sign of Pisces. So they're at home in the sign of Pisces during this full moon, whilst, as I say, Venus is in Pisces too. So this only adds more volume to what I just previously mentioned. And the interesting thing about this too is that we may gain huge insights by going within. We may be blessed with new opportunities. So let's say that this full moon is taking place in your 6th house. So looking at you Taurus, sun, moon and risings. This means Venus is transiting your 11th house. And so perhaps during this period, you consider inner stillness and peace within your alliances, your networks and groups. But at the same time, you're weighing out the pros and cons within your daily routines and working life. Perhaps you shed old skin when it comes to a co-worker relationship dynamic, for example, and you're also wanting to step away from the spotlight to be on your own so you can recharge. And as you go back and forth between these things, you find it challenging to, well, maybe relax with friends, or maybe you feel confused about your direction within groups that you are a part of. Therefore, listen closely to how you feel, pay attention to your intuition. Or let's say this full moon is taking place in your 2nd house, so looking at you Virgo, sun, moon and risings. This means Venus is transiting your 7th house, and so perhaps during this period you consider inner stillness and peace within your partnerships, and you also consider these things when it comes to the subconscious parts of your personality, the parts of your personality that are hidden. But at the same time, you are weighing out the pros and cons within your financial position. So looking at how you earn money and how you handle money, for example. Maybe you shed old skin when it comes to your earning potential, and you are also wanting to address what is going on beneath the surface, to address psychological issues head on. And as you go back and forth between these things, you find it challenging to let go with a partner, for example. You find it challenging to heal your shadow, or at least to show self-compassion towards your shadow. Or maybe you feel confused about how things are going in your life. Therefore, perhaps it's a good idea to really breathe out during this full moon, okay? And just have some inner faith. Or let's say this full moon is taking place in your 10th house. So looking at you Capricorn, sun, moon and risings. This means Venus is transiting your 3rd house. And so perhaps during this period, you consider inner stillness and peace within your daily interactions, within generalized discussions, and also when it comes to how you learn. But at the same time, you're weighing out the pros and cons within your professional life. So looking at your public image and your reputation, how you present yourself to the public. Maybe you shed old skin when it comes to a certain social media style. And you're also wanting to focus on a few things at home. Perhaps there are a few things you are dealing with when it comes to family or when it comes to your own emotional well-being. And as you go back and forth between these things, you find it challenging to feel serene within your mind. It's difficult to have a conversation that just flows. Or maybe you feel confused about what is or isn't being said. Therefore, maybe you need some space, just some space to recharge and to breathe out. The third thing that you need to know about this full moon in Libra is that there is a T-square happening between the sun in Aries, the moon in Libra, and Pluto in Capricorn during it. Therefore, there is some tension being felt. You might feel conflicted when it comes to power, change, transformation, greed, possession, dominance, control, authority, jealousy, and personal responsibility. Perhaps some of us lash out during this full moon. Or some of us lack respect and common decency because we are so consumed by our own anxieties, by our own fears, by all the things that are just weighing on us, all these things that pile up. And also when it comes to these anxieties and these fears, well, perhaps they are associated with success, wealth, status, responsibility, power, control. At times there is this me first attitude because we're fighting for our own survival, but other times there is this nobody considers me attitude. There just seems to be so much going on right now when it comes to economic destruction and political aggression. Major changes are happening when it comes to laws and regulations. I mean, when are these things not happening, to be honest? Also, when it comes to what is socially acceptable, there's major shifts and changes happening. Nobody can seem to agree. Nobody can seem to act fairly. Things have been very chaotic and many people are scared. And so during this full moon, consider how you feel when it comes to your societal position. Consider what your views are when it comes to this polarizing world that we live in. But also, consider what the opposite opinions are. Think about the other side of the coin. Your feelings may be stirred greatly as you do this, but perhaps your feelings can lead to thought-provoking discussions. As I say, when it comes to Libra energy, it's very much about looking at opposing opinions, opposing ideas. Still though, looking at this T-square on a more personal level, well, let's say this full moon is taking place in your 4th house. So looking at you Cancer, Sun, Moon and risings, this means that the Sun is transiting your 10th house and Pluto is transiting your 7th. And so during this period, you may feel conflicted when it comes to power and control within your relationships and partnerships. Maybe you can see where you must put yourself first career-wise, but also where you must think about your family and loved ones. And as you contemplate these things, you feel pressures from your partner or from your business partner or from your colleagues. Or maybe there are these huge changes happening between you and your partner, changes associated with stepping up or taking on more responsibilities. And as you feel the impacts of these changes, you feel this internal conflict between what you're doing within your career and what your partner is doing at home, or vice versa. And so perhaps a good way to help with these intense feelings is to find some common ground. Try to place yourself into the shoes of your partner, for example, or think about how you can both reach a compromise. Or let's say this full moon is taking place in your 12th house. So looking at you Scorpio, Sun, Moon and risings. This means the Sun is transiting your 6th house and Pluto is transiting your 3rd house. And so perhaps during this period, you feel conflicted when it comes to power and control in association with your mindset. Maybe you can see where you must put yourself first job-wise, but you also can feel fearful about your relationships behind the scenes. And as you contemplate these things, you feel pressures to make decisions, or you think about your responsibilities, but perhaps in an overwhelming way. Maybe you're going through major shifts, major changes in association with communicating. And as you go through these changes, you feel this internal conflict between your sleeping patterns and having to assert yourself within your daily life. Maybe a good way to help with these intense thoughts is to seek balance or to speak about things that you're struggling with. But at the same time, make sure you listen to other people's perspectives. Perhaps they have something valuable to share. The 4th thing that you need to know about this full moon in Libra is that the moon will trine Mars and Saturn in Aquarius during it. Now, as I was saying a moment ago, progress takes time. Easy does it. And so whilst we are all letting go and releasing when it comes to these Libra themes like fairness, justice, cooperation, also consider gradual progress and change. There's a desire here to move forward and to evolve, which is great. For example, if there are changes you would like to make within your relationships, perhaps you reflect upon these things. Maybe you let go of old, outdated patterns and ways of doing things. Maybe you wish to compromise in a whole new way, or maybe you have greater goals in mind when it comes to unifying with others. This is a great time to think about our communities, our connections, our social circles, whilst also addressing our one-on-one relationships within them. So on that note, let's say this full moon is taking place in your 8th house. So looking at you Pisces, sun, moon and risings. This means Mars and Saturn in Aquarius are transiting your 12th house. Perhaps during this period, you consider how vulnerable you are with others, how you seek emotional bonds and connections with others on a one-on-one level, but you also reflect upon how your vulnerability can contribute to many people, how your vulnerability can contribute to the group, to the collective. Maybe there is something that isn't conscious, but opening up and sharing, by opening up and sharing, you subconsciously welcome others to do the same. Moreover, this may contribute to gradual changes and progress within society on a subconscious level as well. There is a type of rippling effect. So let's say this full moon is taking place in your 7th house. So looking at you Aries, sun, moon and risings. This means Mars and Saturn in Aquarius are transiting your 11th house. Perhaps during this period, you consider how you connect with others on a one-to-one level, how you give and share, and how others give and share. You consider the back and forth exchange between you and others, but you also reflect upon how smaller connections can contribute to bigger connections and wider audiences. So this whole notion of knowing someone who knows someone who knows someone, realizing how we are all socially connected. Perhaps introducing yourself to one new person can lead to you being introduced to many people, to a whole network of people. Maybe you really take your time getting to know people and then you discover that you share a lot in common. And the 5th and final thing that you need to know about this full moon in Libra taking place on the 16th of April 2022 is that Venus in Pisces will sextile Mercury and Uranus in Taurus during it. What a great combination for grounding our dreams and turning our visions into reality. But doing so with patience, calmness, and ease. Moreover, we may feel extra inventive as we come up with outside of the box ideas. Perhaps we theorize things or we experiment with different concepts and ideas, but we are also hands-on and somewhat practical. We are demonstrative. Our ideas aren't just ideas because we try to put them to good use. So for example, if you have a vision in mind when it comes to your earning potential, when it comes to a source of income, well, perhaps during this full moon, you consider the steps that you can take to get things moving. Maybe you have this light bulb idea, this sudden flash of insight where you think, yes, this is the one. But again, you're patient. You remain steady. Maybe you put a practical plan in place. So let's say that this full moon is taking place in your 3rd house. So looking at you Leo, sun, moon and risings, this means Mercury and Uranus in Taurus are transiting your 10th house, and then Venus in Pisces is transiting your 8th house. So as you are reflecting upon harmony within your daily interactions, perhaps you are also considering your dreams in association with intimacy and emotional closeness. Perhaps you can ground these dreams of yours by being inventive within your career. Maybe you have these strong flashes of insight when it comes to your profession, which leads to things slowly moving forward. And as you progress steadily, you start to feel closer to others. You experience greater intimacy. Or let's say that this full moon is taking place in your 11th house, so looking at you Sagittarius sun, moon and risings. This means Mercury and Uranus in Taurus are transiting your 6th house, and then Venus in Pisces is transiting your 4th house. So as you are reflecting upon harmony within your groups and your friendships, perhaps you're also considering your dreams in association with your family and home. Maybe you can ground these dreams of yours by thinking outside of the box within your occupation, or by coming up with a new way of doing things in terms of your schedules and routines. Patiently and slowly, you make changes that can lead to your living situation, dreams coming true. You feel emotionally secure, knowing that little by little, everything is coming together. Okay then, Cosmic Warriors, so that concludes my video about the 5 things that you need to know about this full moon in Libra taking place on the 16th of April 2022. Again, if you have any other things that you would like to share, so other things that you think others need to know about this full moon, then let us know in the comment section. And also let us know your thoughts and your opinions on today's video. With that being said then, thank you so much for watching, thank you for subscribing, and of course if you have not yet subscribed, then make sure that you click that subscribe button, and also give this video a like if you did like it today, and I will be back with another video very, very soon. Bye!